Good evening, cartographic crowd. What is stronger than a man? An Enderman. Admittedly, an abstract question to many, but week 2 in ETF2L's own 6 vs 6 season 51 winter 2026 Premiership division teleports us straight into the concrete reality, a brawl between MANDEM and the Ender pills. And if you take the red pill, you gain JMax on production. With the blue pill, you will stay EP and gain equally as my co-caster. We chose to take both equally here. We also chose to delay a little bit of time, but we're finally here, and I'm very happy that we finally made it.
We've made it. We've even worked out what games going on different streams. We found out what players are in the server. I'm going to give you guys a sneak preview. Lardox is not here for MANDEM still. They are continuing with them all, as they did 2 days ago, in what was a bit of a stomp on their week 1 game, I'll be honest. I feel like MANDEM came in swinging, and I think they're going to very much be looking to continue if they can.
Yeah, I mean 5-0 on Process and 5-1 on Granary versus Dirty Maggots and Ender Pearls. They're also sort of conjoined in that fight. I'd say 5-0 on Process and 5-0 on Sunshine, admittedly against Workshop, who have yet to stake a round win for themselves. But since we're going live soon, fingers crossed, MANDEM, EP, Lee, is yours to introduce if you do have the roster.
I do have a roster. So we do have, like I said, instead of Lardox, we have Demul alongside Ryan. I believe we have Fancy, Demo, June on Medic, and then we have Boulder and Zoe on Scouts. Scouts, which, if you were watching the game on Tuesday, hit some big frag.
Massive frags. And the Ender Pearls, I said it, teleporting onto the opposition. Andy, Pocket Scout, Nikki on the Flank Scout, Soldier, on the Pocket Soldier, basically a Rotager, then on Flank Roamer, Luca, without Enderman this time, but when you do remember, and you do recall an auto on the Medic class. Process and Sunshine will be played. I want my co-caster to be Chestant. What is your prediction?
I think we are going to be seeing a better game than Tuesday. I think it should still really be MANDEM's game to lose. I think, on the side of the Ender Pearls, I think they will be pretty strong. I think we'll see a bit more back and forth, but I think this will surely be MANDEM.
And once more officially, with a little bit of delay, but if both teams are delayed, no one can claim a default win. I think it's in the rules. But week 2 now, MANDEM versus the Ender Pearls, as we enter, admittedly, our very first mid-fight, a little bit delayed.
Here we go. So it's going to be seeing, actually, the first frag is going to be Ryan going down. You can see the rest of MANDEM backing up all the way. Didn't even really get a chance on that mid. It kind of felt like they were peeking, and then the second they prodded a little bit too far, they were like, no, that's it, not going to risk anymore. Back to second they go. Spar's going to try and get aggressive now as well. He's going to get kind of counter bomb. Not really much support from the rest of the team. There's a lot of pushing up on the flank happening. You can see MANDEM playing all the way far back towards point, and getting a lot of damage. Not quite securing the frag. This is MANDEM really trying to weather the storm. They're actually managing to do okay, though.
So much curtain fire. A speed shot from Smile after they won the very first mid-fight, basically by one-man advantage push, and then afterwards dispersing some more players. Andy being absolutely uncontested and putting a lot of bullets into Fancy. However, it does tranquilize the flanks for this far. Maybe a suicidal wave? Well, they're only really idly walking around right now.
Yeah, right now you can see some aggressive plays towards the flank. You can see MANDEM, they're very, very content giving up a lot of IT positioning by just playing all the way back towards point. They know that ultimately it doesn't matter too much. We do see... Ooh!
June. It's a huge frag on Luca Enderman. No Demo Man in the fight, and they have to use an Uber right now. June popping significantly later, and they still have Fancy as a fighting force. No Demo Man to lock down the choke point, so they can instantly traverse forward easily.
Yeah, they're going to be pushing all the way. You can see they're just forcing Ender Pearls all the way out. They know they can't take that long fight without a Demo Man unless they could get an immediate frag. Ender Pearls knew, no, it wasn't happening. They got it back all the way after second. Now, they will manage to get that Demo there in time, so it's not going to be like continued aggression in the hands of MANDEM, but maybe they're just going to be a little bit more content. You know, going from mid to second can make things much, much easier. You've got a little bit less risk, a little bit kind of nicer angles to play with. But it doesn't look like anyone wants to do anything too fast just yet, but...
Ryan and Zoe 2v1. Unfortunately though, Rotisha has a soldier partner there now and also the high ground control, so very interesting how the winning position shifted a little bit, and I don't want to put anyone too ostensively onto the pedestal, but in their warm-up scrim, well, MANDEM were a little bit shell-shocked sometimes, but now we enter a secondary approach here. Now it is onto June and onto Boulder, trying to pry this one open. Fancy taking a lot of punishment though, can't really initiate, but they're slowly even having Ryan behind here. Ryan is in behind.
He is all the way behind, all the way towards 1, and just actually being such an annoying little player. Ubers do get traded all the way. It is going to be, I believe, a tiny bit better for the side of June. Ryan now has had so many of these Ender Pearls players go all the way back, does clean it up, but you can see Luke is getting caught all the way towards 1. These frags are going to be so crucial right now. 2 now, Roger does jump in, doesn't manage to secure a frag. Actually, is going to get cleaned up super late, and suddenly it's 3 players down on the side of Ender Pearls.
Absolute bleeding of the players right now, and that forces them to walk into a 6 vs 3 situation. Very difficult to even hold on. The move bombing onto Auto, hides into the spawn. Luca Enderman ripped apart. 1-0 lead for MANDEM. They started out a little bit idly around that Ryan in behind the lines of the Ender Pearls. I would have even guessed if Arto didn't get rushed by a scout so aggressively, maybe he could have even dropped since Ryan was in behind. But Ipeli, did you see like something just forced the bleeding of the players there? 3 down.
I think ultimately it came down to just how many players moved back to try and deal with Ryan. So they managed to secure that frag, but as a result, they were just not in a good position post-Uber. So then suddenly you're losing players here and there, and they just didn't manage to back up fast enough. So bit of a blunder there for the side of the Ender Pearls. We do have second mid, a little bit better already on the side of MANDEM, which is not what the Ender Pearls will be wanting. Soldiers jumping everywhere. So he just gets nuked out of the server. Absolutely player advantage once again in the hand of the Ender Pearls. If they can just keep playing things a little bit slowly, walking over point now, and you can see, yeah, gonna be forcing MANDEM out. I believe there's 1 soldier
Ryan is still in behind though, and Dimul is well scarpering out. Zoe's still down, so if you were to push forward, you would have 2-man picks. Also, I'm going to admit it, Ryan and Dimul, both very high profile soldiers, but not that synced on this mid. Usually you are expecting the double soldier bomb here. Ryan also being dealt on the perimeter in behind in the sewer area, being put into the dumpster by a combination of Nikki and Rotisha. But before, Dimul had really good high bombs on that mid fight, forced a lot of ice upon him, also took them quite weak on HP, but eventually I think there was a second soldier lacking. However, no Ryan on the field, and that can translate into a little bit of space taking.
Yeah, it is going to be taking a lot of space towards this left-hand side on second. You can see just trying to get any little bits of damage. First frag onto Zoe. That's going to make things a lot more difficult. You can see these players on the side of MANDEM, they've been forced all the way down. Uber does now get traded. They are going to be trying to force it off just a little bit. You can see Fancy's already backing up the rest of the team on the side of MANDEM. The entire combo is backing all the way up 1. They didn't really stand a chance. Even Demul is going to be trying to get out alive. Does. Ooh, just about.
Barely.
But
barely.
Yeah.
Fancy has his friend locked out of there, and all the projectile clusters are being poked to the left side though. Zoe takes Nikki and nicks that man straight into that respawn as he was on sniper conjointly so, and June only 10% advantage, probably nothing to budge off onto the second point. Or do they even want to pressure cook something? We see Fancy only on top, idle spam flung over, nothing to chance their hand.
No, there was, I feel like, a little moment there on the side of MANDEM. If they could have possibly secured that frag with a soldier towards upper IT, that would have been a real key moment for MANDEM to then push forward and take control of that second point. But you can see they don't go too far. They don't try and force something which isn't going to work. So there we go. Going to be towards last soldier, actually jumping all the way in. Oh, gets nuked. Smile does try with the follow-up, but surely he's going to get absolutely nothing. No, that's going to be both soldiers down. They do manage to clean up Fancy at the end of it, so it's not all too bad, and this won't really be a pushable situation for MANDEM. Possibly some kind of counter-sack?
Very difficult. Maybe a reference point here could be Ryan on the left side, seen from a blue perspective, since all those projectile classes are rallying up on the left side. Andy now has a scuffle though. Ryan though wins that deftly with the help of Boulder, so Andy a bit too over eager there, also not helped out by the accompanying players, so that attenuated that own flank. Sentry gun only level 1, down now, and also some other players are very weak on HP.
Yeah, this is going to make things a little bit easier. If they want to try and send someone in, it would be around about now, but they lose Nikki, they lose more. Oh, they lose more! What? They're getting absolutely crushed towards lobby. Uber's been used all just to auto, only now does he manage to get a scout, and the only thing he can do is just try and back away. That is absolute destruction. 4 players down, massive 100% Uber disadvantage. Even auto getting out is not a foregone conclusion, just about.
That
manages
was
to get
not
out upper IT.
that was not a safe rescue in any case. You saw Fancy would have 100% jumped through the choke. He was only down to half HP, so that basically inhibited him from being up any further aggressive. But that renders now June having a 60% Uber advantage, and once more the dropping of the players dearly cost them. The reference point now is the choke, where we have to orbit our eyes toward. They are slowly once more taking space.
They are going to try and take space. This Uber, like you say, it is advantage June, but with a player down, they're having to play this really, really slowly. They're trying to take second without using this Uber. Ultimately, it won't be long for Enderpearls to get their own Uber, and actually that's going to be losing Boulder. They have to back up. They don't even get all the way through choke. They were so committed on trying to get that free take, but actually they just couldn't, they couldn't go for a commit. They couldn't go for the free take. They've just kind of had to set themselves back up on mid.
Seems to periodically be played very parallelly, honestly. Like, usually we see one player dying and then the complete collapse of 4 players dying. We saw that on both teams. So again, very parallelly played. 1-0 lead until we hit the first 10-minute marker soon. 1-0 lead for MANDEM. But again, I think a bit of a tranquil position here. We also haven't seen that many cookie cutter suicidal waves. Maybe now is the time for that.
Yeah, quite possibly. It does look like Ron possibly getting in a position, getting a fat 300 buff, and maybe, you got the old like fake sack and then the real sack at the end of it, or the classic just I'm gonna walk forward as demo and try and tag the medic once and see what happens. Instead, you see some aggressive flank plays. Smile doing some nice little sync jumps. Nice, fair
just styling.
No one looking to commit, just having a good time. Ryan actually going to be going behind again. We've seen this before, I think.
Bonus
get traded all the way forward. There we go.
So weak once more. It's a Freaky Friday scenario. It feels like also Zoe finishing off Rotisha on the front flank, but they have to iron out their flanks. It seems to be the way they're on the mule, setting all those carriages on that mule. And now Fancy though takes a pipe into his face. There's so much curtain fire.
Oh no!
They do soak this all up.
Oh my god, it's basically the same thing again, and he's just trying to go all the way through Roller, anything to try and block second, to do anything at all. But it's not going to be enough. One sole remaining player is going to get taken down. MANDEM with that second round in almost just the exact same way as before.
And it's insane. I was talking about it earlier. We have sort of, when nothing is happening really, then you have like one player being isolated out, so that's like 5 or 6 push. But here, again, 4 players dropping because they all 4 of them nuke forward, go onto a demo man, don't even take different sides, and then they all collapse because they conglomerate upon a low ground, even though they were the one defending. I'm not really sure what is causing this. Maybe there's a sort of fault laying within the comms. We can't really deal with this though. It's a 2-0 lead for MANDEM, and it's a third mid-fight approaching.
Yeah, they could be pretty happy right now. 20 minutes, there's a lot of game left to play, but MANDEM's going to be pretty comfy with that 2-round advantage. But, it's new mid, new me, both soldiers on the side of the Enderpearls trying to get something done, trying to take some kind of decent high ground position, but actually MANDEM managing to kind of seize control and actually maintain the control here. First frag's going to go their way, does get traded out a little bit. Ryan does get the bomb, does try to go right in deep. Nice little rocket there, doesn't really manage to get that commit though, and June's going to be the one who does fall. They're going to be surging forward, trying to do everything they can to try and get onto Auto, but Auto's managing just to avoid everyone.
He's parking himself in the garage, but no, there is already another one in the carport. He is being clopped down. Minecraft is brought. Ryan writes, but in the in-game chat, there are some more funny talks here in the chat, but the damage was already inflicted. Auto went down, nothing else to be gathered. I want to compliment this mid-fight. Definitely better out of Dimul and Ryan, but then again, Enderpearls able to take their own left side and regroup around Sewer, but I don't think Border even wants to take this, or give this up rather.
No, absolutely not. You can see how important it is getting that late medic frag, because with Auto being so far away, MANDEM can basically play like all their damage is permanent, at this point. As long as there's no heals there, they just surge forward, do as much damage as possible. Auto is now there. The position's slightly better on the side of MANDEM. So much is going to come down to who this first frag is.
Another mid-fight, and look at him, it's so weak, but he takes the last Enderpearl to teleport Zoe straight back into that respawn queue. Nicky also eradicating his opposing scout there on the flank, and as I said, another mid-fight, maybe a third mid-fight now, as once more the Enderpearls do enter here. 2 players down on the side, 3 players make that 3 down on the side of MANDEM.
Yeah, there we go. We're just going to keep on fighting basically forever. Surely we're seeing a bit of a situation. I'll need to get that shot. And he's trying to get in. It's just not happening. The Uber gets used. Okay, Auto's got his. It's fine. It's surely fine. Even losing the soldier Oh, I don't even know at this point. I don't even know because their player's down. Auto right now is going to be so focused on just not using this Uber. Not having to use here would be the absolute perfect situation, or even using aggressively. Both
Using aggressive now! Onto
we
Andy
go.
and onto Luca Enderman. They're leaping forward here. Might even be caught out here on Fancy. Not so Fancy losing a Demo Man, but June does ultimately hop out.
Okay, we get a second. We can breathe for just a minute. It's still players down on the side of MANDEM, but
isn't
it
kept
does have
yet.
to be captured. And, dude, Ryan's behind again. Ryan has been such a little rat this game.
The R in Ryan is for red, and the 4 is for the 4K usually does farm. There's also a high bomb here from the soldier into the choke. Dimur is in the sewer area. Winstead versus Smile.
God, okay, yeah, Ryan's still all the way back. Actually, this massive delay in these frags, it's actually going to put Ryan fully into play. There we go. He manages to get all the way in. Nice and healthy. Going to be going
Bonus
deep right
chasing!
now.
Bonus
It's
chasing!
so important. There we go, cleaning them up one by one again. I feel so bad for the Ender Pearls. I feel like there's so many of these situations where they're just like, yeah, is it okay? Is it okay? And then they just end up crumbling. Like, I can't even put a finger on it.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Rochester was on Sniper. I already saw the cheeky strat brewing, but June is aware of their follies. It was, again, yeah, I do agree, interesting how, especially like projectile classes went forward, and now though, as we peer toward Fancy and June, 80% Uber advantage.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty much perfect for them right now. This is just going to be a moment for MANDEM to buff up, get their players, you know, all prepared, nice and healthy, plenty of ammo, all that kind of stuff. And Uber's going to get used towards this right-hand side. Gun should be the first casualty. Nice and easily done. There we go. Purple sticking towards this right-hand side, setting everyone up, making sure everyone's got plenty of health, plenty of ammo. Now, moving towards the point, starting to get that little bit of time, forcing some of these players down. They've not actually managed to get this first frag, which is also important. In fact, it's Zoe losing their life. This looking like pretty well held on the side of the Ender Pearls, not committing too far in, not too far back, playing that perfect middle ground, and now they have a lot to show for it.
Even Dimur caught in technicalities, and you saw the Ender Pearls, they were sheltering and they could sleep because there were no lethal enemies nearby, as another reference to Minecraft. But anyway, it was very simple, honestly. I mean, 40% Uber advantage, and there weren't really a chance there on the high ground. Could just shelter all their players. The heavy was brought close, almost cookie cutter even, cardboard play. Ryan might even be caught out, no jumps out, but still a 20% Uber, that is enough as a daunting prospect to secure the mid-fight. Or midpoint.
Yeah, and that's so well done as well. If they can go immediately, there's a chance to possibly get in before June gets her own Uber.
Sniper!
But there we go. Literally, the second you see it, there's your opportunity gone. Zoe is on the defensive sniper. That shot will ring out. The Ender Pearls will be aware of it. And actually, really quite a smart play there to actually just kind of back up and change off that sniper class. Right now, the Ender Pearls are going to be playing around that sniper, not even really aware that that's not even a thing.
And Nikki, that was unfortunate. Smile went for the high ground, Nikki for the low ground, but Smile was clopped down to the low ground, so they were all aware of Nikki. So that sort of didn't work out at all, this two-man stack eventually.
Oh my god, what a rocket! Dude, Luca just got absolutely nuked into the dirt.
June pops on, 10 HP by the way, holds on in the sight of Andy, bulldozing her. Also, Border still has this high ground control fully set up, and it is once more, sorry, Border obviously bulldozing her. Andy though now is trying to reposition himself. Auto, not long for this world. Ryan once more the protege for the enemy medic.
Here we go. This feels like a very similar situation to what we saw a minute ago. MANDEM, they're feasting off a little bit of chaos, you know. The second it gets a little bit chaotic, a little bit weird, whatever, they just surge forward. They're so coordinated. They're hitting all the important shots, and you know that Ender Pearls, they don't want to give them that opportunity anymore. Even if it means conceding ground, they're going to be moving all the way towards last. They need a really solid last hold. We saw them do it just a few moments ago, but this is going to be just that little bit harder. They don't have as much time to set up and get themselves comfortable, because this Uber advantage is going to be in the hands of June any second now.
We took some time to go live on this map, but it does keep delivering, and in this game, since evoking some more energy here, the triumvirate of success, 3 glowing blue players, though the sentry gun is immediately dealt with, only Scrap and Bolts now is left. Dimur also shot down very low on HP, Border also ultimately being a little bit post-shot there on his passive position on the slope. Andy might come into the fight a bit more prominently since respawn cabinets close by, pipe hit, 3 players down.
There we go. Oh, Fancy's not a bit of a late commit there. Let's call it optimistic, but
Smile with the wall shot on Dimul. Good night, my man. I mean, you've left, and I mean, he didn't leave his team. Forfans is not here anymore, but absolutely being ripped to pieces there. Holy.
Okay, right, Ender Pearls. They have an opportunity once again. Zoe on the defensive sniper, got this long angle all the way from second. Just gonna be watching things a little bit. Ryan, still managing to trade frags. I feel like this is some of the stuff which becomes really annoying for the side of Ender Pearls because, you know, they're in a good situation. It would be even nice if they had 6 players, but now they're suddenly finding actually they got a bit of a hole on their flank. It's okay. The sniper, watching this all-important angle, Auto has no choice but to not walk out right now. Someone needs to provide some kind of pressure. They're just not managing it at all.
Oh, the headshot as well. And that might once more force the dropping of players. No, Luca Enderman. Smile, though, with Auto. Scarpering out. It is prevalent how the chase is unleashed if you've watched British television. And Dimul is also still chasing.
No,
Ryan
the follow-up. Ryan's on it. Ryan's on it.
On it like a car bonnet. Red medics dropped.
That's brutal. That's brutal. That is the soldier coordination that we like to see right now. This is absolute nightmare situation for side of the Ender Pearls. You know, they're managing to hold last, but everything else seems to be not going their way. The headshot rings out. And there we go, little sniper v sniper duel. Just Zoe asserting some dominance. And this is going to be hard. Once again, uber advantage in the hands of June Mandem. Going to be looking forward. Surely they don't fail a third push in a row. I reckon this is going to be a round on the board again.
Fingers crossed, and that could catapult them into a much more prominent lead indeed, as they're harboring some feelings on pushing through that 3 area right now, gaining their buffs, and here it goes. Let's send it straight into the last point. The sentry gun is though hidden behind the pillar. It takes some more effort to deal with it, and the panic control is though where Ryan is panicking, as Smile was basically traded out as a frag. No cap time yet though. As to speak of, Dimul is initiating Auto down.
Oh my god, what a headshot from Zoe, and now they can afford to play a lot slower on the side of Mandem. There's no heals. On the side of the Ender Pearls, they know these players are going to have to move towards point. You can see so much damage to all these players. Finally, just about securing this one frag. Andy managing to live far longer than you would probably expect. And actually, on the side of the Ender Pearls, they're managing to hold on just a little bit more. Spawners do just about come in, but surely there's going to be no chance. What a pipe there on the side of Fancy, and it's scrappy. It is messy, but it doesn't matter. That is Mandem securing their 3rd round. And 10 minutes left to go. Ender Pearls, they need to find something, man.
I'm going to point out the boring, obvious deathmatch discrepancies there sometimes. It's insane. We are talking about it. Sometimes you think Ryan is caught out, you know? He is a bit too forward. 2v1 in his disfavor. He still manages to trade it out. Then this double soldier initiates behind them, drops Auto, and then on that last fight, basically even players up and also both medics. But it's again Mandem just coming out with better deathmatch and especially focus fire, it feels like. So 4th mid fight is where we are ending up, and now and already his border is taking a little bit to the high ground here. The tractor beam is calling both of those soldiers to the mothership. That is the opposing team's chokes. Now Smile is down. Ryan traded out as well, so basically a soldier for a soldier.
Yep, there we go. But now suddenly Mandem find themselves with no soldier class at all. And they're going to be backing up all the way. Zoe a little bit, you know, you could argue caught out, maybe just kind of hiding. This is good distraction on the side of Mandem with a combo. They're like peeking forward like, oh, you know, are we going to be going in? Are we going in?
Oh,
Zoe manages to go all the way through again. Both frags and the health back. Are we going to go for more? Surely it's too greedy. Going to be going all the way towards the back lines. The rest of the combo on the side of Mandem should be getting all the way in now. On the side of the Ender Pearls, they're going to be doing everything they can to try and get onto June.
5k? Yes!
What?
5k! Leave one for your fellow compatriots. So 5 players take one player. That is enough if Zoe just cleans off the other 5. We were lauding Ryan and Dimul. You know what Balder and Zoe say? Focus on us instead.
Yeah, exactly. That is such a huge play, but great play from the whole team. They did so much of a distraction for Zoe. That was so important there. Ryan, so hungry, actually getting a little bit too aggressive.
Bit too aggressive. Andy is forcing his Uber. By the way, Zoe and June, they were a bit preoccupied what was just overcasting the sky there. Basically, it was Ryan, but Zoe 101 means Luca Enderman pipes him down, but definitely made a great deal of shots there before a flurry of shots was unleashed. And if you have the spawn closer to you, then you will spawn sooner and your distance will not be as long. That means you can traverse into the midpoint.
There we go. And I was going to say, midpoint is where the Enderpose want to go, but apparently MANDEM has
Respawn is where
absolutely
they
no
end up.
interest. Yeah, no, MANDEM has no interest in letting them do that. In fact, they're not even going to let them have any control of a second. Actually, goodbye, Enderpose. You can go back to your last.
It's a bit selfish, don't you think? They are all just taking the space for themselves here. And the Enderpills, though, they want to teleport forward to the upper IT area. Ryan being shot down into pieces. June doesn't even have, but has a lot of players here to protect her.
Yeah, so this is going to be... Honestly, I really like the aggressive Uber there on the side of the Enderpose. They try and do what they can, but ultimately, when you don't manage to actually catch the combo or even any significant frags, like all of that, and you get a soldier, it's kind of wild, you know? Now they need to try and get themselves some kind of really good force or, I don't know, like a lot of frags, something to try and stop MANDEM. And even at that point, they need to try and actually do something practice themselves. It's going to become just more and more difficult as time goes on right now. And you can see MANDEM are playing around that fact. They are absolutely, like, MANDEM has no interest in rushing things. They're just going to be going all the way for, oh my god, dude, that's such huge damage from Demul. Ryan with the follow-up, almost possibly could have got some frags there, but it doesn't even matter on the side of MANDEM. Everything they do right now is just gravy, right? They walk all the way through one. They don't even have to use. They literally get like 90% cap
Uber
on
now?
a point, literally not having to use the Uber.
Not
What
using
is going
Uber.
on?
Otto finally does have Uber. He also has some respawners, so maybe if they can eviscerate some players, but June and Border not even popping until now. So that sprouts another idea of another frag clip and another player parading, chaperoning on that last point. And I'm going to agree. I mean, it's nice that Otto then also gets Uber in the end, but you know what? June just milks it out for such a long time. They don't have to use at all.
Well, this is it, right? Like they got through second. They got through the choke point into second, okay. And then they got over the point on second, okay. Then they got all the way through one, okay. And they got onto the last point, all without having to use. Like, it's just... I get those players down inside the Enderpose, but it's one of those situations where once that happens, it's like, man, I don't even know what you can do. But whatever, right? Whatever. If there's a time for Enderpose to find some success, I think it would be now. Do you think it's going to happen?
Probably. I mean, if you say man, maybe that does birth some more prodigies here from Luca Enderman. Boulder is down, being revenged upon by Andy. Now though, Demul, he was doing so well. We called it out basically the win condition in the round before, and now though, Luca Enderman being shot down into pieces by the pistol from Zoe. Another complimentary rocket fired at Andy, revenged on by Ryan. And we talked about it before, Demul, you know, so much damage kept alive. This time around though, the Enderpills do at least momentarily reign supreme.
Oh my god, this is so annoying on the side of the Enderpose. Ryan, again, being such a rat, and they're playing so well on the side of MANDEM in terms of just kind of, you know, going a little bit in, a little bit out, you know, getting arrows, getting all important bits of heals. Ryan getting these frags towards the back lines. They know that
Still
they
alive.
can't leave him there forever. It's like they can't go back to deal with him, but also they can't just ignore him entirely. They're having to concede the fight on mid, and even still, he's dragging players back.
He's finally rocket shot with the help of Smile. They had a lot of rocket jumps there to finally net that one going down. But yeah, I mean, it definitely brought ruin to this mid fight and also just diverted so much attention span there. Zoe in the IT area being rushed down by Andy. They have to cook something up. Only 4.5 minutes left in this game here. Basically, maybe we see the full 30 minutes elapse. Also, Fancy waiting for this Uber probably to fade to plug some very aggressive stickies forward. Boulder and Zoe still decently healthy though to control the high ground. And once more, Andy lacking the fitness as Demul is completely sprouting him into another dimension. Nikki though eradicates Fancy. It's a long drawn out mid fight. People, we've seen that so much. MANDEM do not let go at all.
No, they don't. There was about 3 different situations there where you could see it going well for Enderpose, but it's just not enough. Ryan jumping so high, gets all of this. Oh my god. They're just getting cleaned up. Boulder once more. Boulder once more. Not actually quite gonna get auto.
Oh no!
No!
How could you do this to this man? He survived so much, such a torrent time, and then eventually, I think the marbles might be spilled now. It's also a very cardboard scenario now. I mean, it's a 60% Uber advantage, even more so, probably 70 to 80% until auto response.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a rough one. I feel like right now with 3.5 minutes left to go, there's not a lot the Enderpose can do. This is your frag clip moments. This is Nikki playing towards lobby, the aggressive sniper, like, maybe I can find someone, maybe I can hit some all-important headshot or a body shot, or even like the little toe shot, you know? The classic little toe shot. Turns out that's not going to happen. They have just no interest in giving Enderpose anything. Apparently, Not even one round, ideally not even one frag. Uber gets used all the way towards right hand side. That is going to be a dispenser. Ha!
The
gun
glimpse of
wasn't there
immortality.
this time. Now what?
There's the sentry behind the point. Not sure if they have spotted it yet. It's still there. Very lethal indeed. Shooting at some accompanying players. And now though, inundating this point with blue players and red corpses. Almost 30 minutes equally. Yeah, I do join you in the hurtfulness of Enderpills. They didn't play bad at all, but MANDEM on another level, so insanely smartly played and with so much ferocity.
Yeah, I think the all important thing that game is the second anything got particularly messy, MANDEM were just on it, right? You know, whether it was individual DM or team coordination or, you know, just the way they're focus firing or the way they're playing around specifically, you know, Ryan getting very aggressive and playing on these backlines. I'm guessing it's probably a combination of all of those things. But ultimately, it was just, yeah, they were on another level when it came to those scrappy fights.
I think it was also predicated by winning conditions shifting, winning conditions as in different players doing different plays. For example, the third round was, I felt like, solely won, for example, by Demul, high bombing all the time, being kept alive, forcing so many viewpoints, and then bombing the enemy team's rollout where they wanted to leave from. Dying, yeah, but serving, 300 damage, then the double scout chariot rushes in, everything down there, let's peer toward the logs, probably represented as well, since there's some combined efforts of, well, Zoe taking the brunt of it, 22 kills, 11 deaths, 2.0 KD. I mean, he got 5 frags on 1 mid alone, so that sort of also says something. Ryan afterwards comes in with 18 frags. Space mate, you know, and attention span diverted sometimes doesn't translate into logs. Here, even then it does. He was always behind.
I think probably one of the biggest things which stands out to me, not even from a kind of individual player fragging point of view, you know, you can tell it's a very one-sided game just by the disparity in medic deaths. Mm-hmm. Like June died twice the entire game, and apparently one of those deaths was to auto, which is really funny when you think about it. Now, obviously, you know, it's difficult to say that it would have made a huge difference because it felt like the Enderpearl's Ubers were also, you know, if they had got more Ubers, they weren't necessarily more effective in how they took their Ubers. But I don't know, I feel like it does say something about the game when you get stat lines like that. Also, incredibly funny stat. Apparently, yeah, MANDEM didn't cap first on any of the 5 mid fights. Technically, all 5 mid fights was lost for MANDEM. And yet it did not feel that way. It felt like mid fights were, you know, fairly back and forth. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have looked at that game and just been like, oh yeah, this is going to be like, you know, all these mids are being won the same kind of way.
I was also a little bit distracted. I mean, there's also a huge discrepancy in sort of total frags gained, but yeah, I mean, we also had this one round where they had a mid fight 3 to 4 times, so maybe you can technically say that without capping the midpoint, MANDEM won that twice, but Enderpills won that 3 times. So they ended out coming out on top. But yeah, I mean, medical malpractice was already pointed out by you, 1 frag there. But what also felt to me was very interesting. You know, MANDEM had this game so much in their grip, even on face value, when you thought, oh, they have a number disadvantage now. They still found ways to, with the few resources that they still had available, to once more catapult themselves into advantage. It felt like they were never really pressed. And in my humble opinion, maybe here on Sunshine that happens, but if Andy and compatriots, the Enderpills, pressure them a little bit, maybe we see the first adaptation, because I'm pretty sure MANDEM can also adapt a lot.
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely a good point. The amount of times where we saw MANDEM take like a 4v5 and then it would end up a 4v3 just because of some really well-timed frags and some, you know, I guess it's a combination of, yeah, you know, just positioning, focus fire, all of those kind of, you know, standard team play things. But it does make you think that it isn't that Enderpearls aren't getting these advantageous positions, because they are. They're getting themselves into those positions, but then they're letting it slip a little bit. So possibly, you know, given the 5-10 minutes or so break in between maps, maybe there's something they can tighten up a little bit, or maybe, you know, just agree to take things a little bit slower once they get in those positions. You know, they make a call and actually kind of bunch up a lot more. And you know, it feels like there's something they can do a little bit different to get themselves in, because obviously, you know, just to look at it, that was a 5-0 game, but it felt closer than a 5-0. It felt like there was more from the Enderpearls than 0 rounds would suggest, right?
Also, admittedly, I mean, if you put this into a macro perspective, Dirty Maggots got 5 out on process by MANDEM as well, so Enderpearls are so far not alone in this fate. And what I want to quickly shift my eyes onto maybe revolving winning conditions on Sunshine. I think Ryan can also snuck in behind the lines, you know, and demur with the high bombs here on Sunshine, but in my humble opinion, maybe not as easy and not as unseen as on process.
Yeah, no, I think it's very fair. Like, if you think about the layout of the maps, it's like the IT position that Ryan was getting into a lot in terms of the later part of these mid fights. I guess the closest equivalent would be Cafe, but you don't have that same level of security just because in IT, like IT kind of sucks because it's just like a hallway and you just take 1 million damage. But also, if you're the soldier effectively defending that position, then you can guarantee that you just will not get rushed by a scout. And I feel like even something like Cafe isn't quite as secure of a position, because actually Cafe is a little bit more open. And it does make you wonder, like, are they going to try and approach this the exact same way? Especially with how the last 30 minutes has gone, you would have thought the Enderpearls would be a little bit more reactive to it, you know. Yeah.
I mean, I do agree that probably this main entrance way that he forced behind them was starting from the mid-fight. I was on Sunshine here maybe thinking a bit more second stalemates and then trying to rush through the green area into lower lobby and then being in behind. But apparently I would tantamountly acclaim if you was able to do that as prominently as on process, because the map architecture and especially a soldier just hiding passive there can at least call out the soldier that is there. Not sure if that is enough. Maybe he also needs to win a 1v1 because it's sometimes restrictive. Your combo can't help you that much. But I suppose on process also is the case because the distance is a bit longer. We'll have to see though. On those mid fights, I'm taking your impetus. Let's focus on the mid fights maybe then. Also very, very much soldier dominated. So that's maybe a bit of a problem.
I think there's going to be big opportunities for the soldiers, but I do wonder whether maybe just process is a huge mid fight for scouts in general. It felt like in that game, it came down to which soldiers were effective in the early part of the mid-fights, and then who was able to follow up afterwards. It does almost make you think whether on this map, if things aren't going particularly well from a soldier point of view, you know, you have the opportunity of just running across point or running across either side on scout, which you can't do in the exact same way on process because of the height differential and because, you know, that far left and far right position is quite a bit more narrow than on Sunshine. I'm hoping there will be more opportunities to see other players kind of, you know, try and do something a little bit different if things do start going wrong for the Enderpearls.
Also, if you do recall and think back of Uberfest and Andy, who definitely made a very big wave there and turned that into a rather, well, big squall essentially for the enemy team. Maybe that can rekindle their spirit. We saw that especially on Sunshine when they played that map on the, obviously with different players, a little bit of different players, but basically taking fights very aggressively, very proactively, even if they had a number disadvantage. We didn't really see that on process. I felt like they were a bit more cult and a little bit less so aggressive, but we're going live in 20 seconds. Predictions here on scoreline?
I think we're gonna see it closer. I think it's still gonna go to MANDEM. I can see something like 4-2 happening. I think we're gonna see a couple rounds for Enderpearls.
I am, let's say, 3-1 at least. I mean, for MANDEM, hopefully we see the full 30 minutes elapse, but now the pregame elapses and the final eclipse of Sunshine is here to be played, as in the red colors. We once more do have the Enderpearls featuring up, teleporting themselves into the mid-fight as they just got rubbed off process. 5-0 loss that was, and MANDEM is in blue. Let's see how that translates, the mid-fight on process to the mid-fight on Sunshine.
Here we go. No one going too aggressive early. No one go for that immediate fast soldier bomb. But actually, it is going to be forcing these players all the way back towards Valley. But as soon as that happens, players do get traded back on side of MANDEM. So now to be MANDEM surging forward. You can see damage is not looking good on the side of the Enderpearls. They need to heal up quite significantly. Smile is in a really good position towards this high ground. And it's actually remaining fairly healthy, just about managing to stay alive. But The cleanup does eventually come in. Enderpearl's now backing all the way. Auto did go a little bit dangerously low there. He will manage to survive
Ryan,
the second.
Ryan
Soldier does.
I don't think they're aware of it.
Ooh.
Too
Good
weak
cleanup.
to initiate. We saw very aggressive impetus once more. Double soldier bomb basically from the Enderpearls on that mid fight, but afterward very well grouped out from the MANDEM scouts, and Dimur not dying once he made space, and he's still up alive. Now they have even trampled toward the midpoint, popping significantly later here on Andy.
Yeah, that is so crucial. Andy managed to just catch it, MANDEM completely unawares. Whoa. Sorry. At the end of that Uber,
Rewind.
Zoe gets auto? How did they let that happen?
It's rewind time. It's rewind time to process where Zoe was still behind. When you think you have an advantage, MANDEM say, well, let's take that to the drawing board once more.
That is, that's just a throw. That's literally just such a thrown opportunity. Even with soldiers getting traded out, this is going to be MANDEM in such a comfortable position to take control of mid. They're going to get control of mid. They're going to have themselves a big Uber advantage. Auto only just now getting to the rest of his players. Smile is trying to fight aggressive. Actually, is managing to be incredibly annoying here. The rest of the Enderpearls does manage to get themselves in. Okay, the damage is coming in. Okay. Maybe they're the ones you can search for now. They're definitely looking a lot more comfortable on the side of Sunshine.
Smile is also chasing. It was very interesting, by the way. Like, Dimul just doesn't die. It's so incredible gameplay from him and from June. A border essentially went down, though, so that might sprout some more players being very aggressive in City here, though. Nikki down, so low on HP, shot down into pieces, and that predicated them taking refuge on the high ground and charging forth once more. June still on 100%, Nikki lacking though, and it's another mid fight here. Dimur wasn't even aware of Rotisha.
God, okay, Ryan goes a little bit too aggressive now. We do still see all the players inside of MANDEM. They should be getting control of this mid. Uber's on hand of both teams. Andy trying to go in once again. He's going to be using this Uber. Tries to get that force off. Not quite as successful this time. And now they're going to have to start backing up a little bit. Got to make sure Auto doesn't get caught once again with player advantage. This should be a decent little position, but actually damage isn't looking too good. That's a crucial frag on the side of Nikki. Important for Luca to try and lock these players out as much as physically possible. Give his team time to heal up, to take space, to get control of that point. They want to go for more. I think this might be a little bit aggressive, a little bit brave, and I think Enderpearls are going to take a moment
Bit too
solidify their position.
You saw how crucial it was that Nikki and Smile came from the red Tetris area, because they were almost outgunned there in the 1v1 on Andy in the combo fight, but essentially then the flank had very well and integral timing. And let's see if Smile can clop some teeth in here. Ryan though has help from Zoe, and Rotisha also falling down to the ground. That ferries the MANDEM side to propel themselves much more forth. Indeed, there's Scout hiding here. He's spotted though. Nikki receives the bolt, but ultimately spotted out. Fancy chasing out players.
There we go. I feel like Flank on the side of MANDEM are doing really good work. There's so many positions where it looks like Ryan should just actually not quite be able to survive, you know, just have those situations where it's like, oh no, he's just been rushed, whatever, these things happen. But Ryan keeps on living. It's like the flank is playing really well to almost kind of like bait him a little bit and then come in, secure that frag, and then they go for more. You know, that seems to be the way MANDEM's approaching all these situations. It's definitely how they're managing to seize control of mid. They're getting aggressive. It does look like they're going to go for a classic little sack. Ryan is going to be jumping around all the way towards the back lines.
Styling. Fancy might be caught here though. Andy receives the pipe. Fancy takes him with him. And now though, Luca has to stare down the barrel of the Scout, charging very aggressively forward here. Boulder and the company there behind them. Luca Enderman being isolated out basically. And now the faces, the conferences have swapped. They just charge behind them. June doesn't even pop.
That's disgusting. That
is illegal. Illegal.
What?
Incarcerate that man and that woman. Both of them.
I don't understand how any of that just happened. Enderpearls, I don't know what they were doing on second, but it was not it. Now, Uber does get used. MANDEM should be taking all this position towards the right-hand side. So much damage, locking these players. They're not quite securing the frags. Actually, MANDEM surely can't throw this. Surely not. They just need to take a minute. They need to just breathe. Some lovely little rockets there. They're gonna have to back up.
Can we breathe some sigh of relief here? Honestly, it's just a constant deathmatch battle. Honestly, like Ryan takes the soul out of Rotisha, but now he's being chased out. 10 HP. Don't say he lives. It's incredible. We have saying the same thing every single time. It is Dimur 'never dying. It is Ryan 'never dying. Who dies on MANDEM ever?
100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Oh my god, it's exactly what you say. This is just like all-out war. Uber's actually just going to get used towards his left-hand side. They thought they could catch something. They managed to get bolder. Are they going to get anything else? This is so aggressive. He's really trying to secure it. Manages to get onto Zoe. Jamal on these backlines.
Oh, cannot secure it ultimately. He does force Luca Enderman at least back, so it's only Andy and Otto in the front line. That is enough though. Demul and Zoe back spawning. 10 seconds still on their own phase. Otto doesn't have an Uber. June has an Uber. Maybe that's a forcible scenario right now.
I mean, forcible, or they might just get caught entirely. The big bomb in the pipe from Fancy. That is the all-important frag. That is everything they need, and they are just going to bunker up. They know what they need to do in order to succeed here, and they need to just play together, get this all-important frag. There we go. Not too bad just there, June. Having to play very, very carefully. There's actually so many of these players here. It's going to come down here.
He is claiming June, and June had no one close by anymore. Only Fancy giving way, but ultimately overwhelmed. Rotisha on a 4K. That is fearful. 5K. Doing a Zoe impression from before. It's crazy how they are coming back. 7 minutes. I feel like I've been in this game for, what, 4 hours? And they've been like on 20 kill streaks all the time, everyone. It's crazy, but it's still 0-0 scoreline and definitely much more aggressive here. Played from the Enderpills, but now it's MANDEM charging in.
They are just charging in again. There's no stopping them. They're just going to keep on going, forcing these players out, securing the frag on Andy. It's now 3 players down. I don't think Ryan's going to want to stop. Ryan doesn't seem to ever really want to stop. I'll be honest with you. Even with this fresh spawner coming in, you can see just a little bit of spam taking that opportunity. I think there's every opportunity here in MANDEM. Yeah, they don't even have to do anything. They just walk forward and endpills. They have no choice but to back up.
Do you think he also just airshots players in his sleep? Even if he goes to sleep, he just never stops. Just boom, and you're dead. Oh, there's also a Fancy a little bit too far forward. It seemed to me ephemerally, but Smile in forward. Otto pops it. June 9% separator, but they're not in any...
We have the backup. We have to move. Behind them. He's just standing on the point. How does he get a frag?
Staring menacingly.
I couldn't tell you what's going on. We have both scouts just coming in. We have an Uber.
Yes.
This is it. This is it. They're capping. That's the first round. That's 1 round. That's round 1 of this game.
I don't know.
Jesus,
can
man.
set the mandate upon them to maybe calm it down a little bit. It doesn't seem to be beyond the faculty of both of those teams to just constantly budge off any small advantages. Barely any advantages at all, it feels to me. Like, even if they have 1 or 2 players down, you know, on Enderpearls, for example, charging forward, but MANDEM then, I think they're just using the false sense of security maybe from the Enderpearls when they think, oh yeah, we just pushed the midpoint, that's cool. MANDEM just still come in and, well, second mid fight.
Yeah, there we go. 9 minutes. Nice, calm, relaxing little game here. Let's see how this is going to go a little bit differently. First frag.
June is down.
June's an immediate casualty. Demul's in such a good position, but actually they're going to be bunkering up. Only 2 scouts on the side of MANDEM. They're going to have to go through such a difficult position. Surely Zoe can't do it. Absolutely not. Sent into the dirt. What a shot from Nikki, and that is going to be... Okay, everything in that last 9-minute round, you know, that was sad. It wasn't exactly what they wanted, but it doesn't matter at this point. They're going to have player advantage, Uber advantage. Every single thing they could want right now is going to be in their hands, and they just need to get control a second, get ready, start moving all the way towards last. They don't even need to let them set up properly right now.
That Fancy. No way! My papes are that particularly that I papped myself. God, I'm so good, he says. Why, he's in the respawn queue. So anyway, now you called it out. 50% Uber advantage here for Otto. They were waiting for a little bit of a setup. Setwigan only level 1 though, not spotted early enough, but it doesn't also be... It was just teleported back since the engineer swapped off. Now though, the point is an empty husk. If some players can trample upon it, there are still some stickies laying around. And this push once more falls away. Ryan with another wonderful rocket ricochet into Luca Enderman, but Otto ultimately leaving.
God, okay. There's always a little bit of a moment there where Andy could have just pulled some absolute magic out of the disaster, but not quite going to happen today. Bit of a failed push there, I'll be honest with you. It seemed like they didn't really know what was going on. It's always going a little bit aggressive, actually.
Rotisha!
Possibly.
In behind! That was a fake bomb, but June doesn't take a lick of damage.
Oh, okay. Well, optimistic. I mean, there's a lot of damage to the rest of these players. Even Demul losing his life is going to make things a little bit more difficult on the side of MANDEM. They do have the Uber, though. They can just go at any point.
Doesn't even need an Uber, but Nikki comes in, and also June claims Nikki. That was a scuffle if I've ever seen one, close to the cafe area. Maybe take your cafe nation in disquiet after all, but they're trying to raise up another host here on the side of, well, both factions, basically, because 2 players are down on both sides, and we have an Uber gun ready to rock, ready to rumble, but Andy is down, and that was a sticky trap.
Yeah, there we go. This time, you know, not looking to let Andy just go all the way in and take this Uber trade. Oh my dude. Apparently everyone's obsessed with Cafe. Everyone's there's been like 20 players in Cafe in the last like 60 seconds. Can we just like leave it alone? Dude, Edibos, they're so committed to try and get through that doorway. How they've not had to use, I honestly could not tell you right now. We've got scrappy fights towards Choke, but Boulder's actually losing their life. Is this how they're going to do it?
Oh, June is surfing out.
Just keep going.
June had to blindside herself, well, basically surfing it out, but the pipe was ultimately not hit. No drop, Uber force eventually, but you called it out, so many players being very recalcitrant to still stay alive and intransigent enough to fire shots with your friends and push a last point with your friends. 70% Uber advantage for a team that is pushing now.
There we go. We should just take a little moment just to heal up, you know. Sometimes you take a moment to heal up, to buffer. There we go. Uber's going to get used. They're not going to risk this with a sniper. They know it's always going to be a thing. Gun does go down. They're going to be taking this position all the way towards this left-hand side very, very shortly. Smile with the big bomb. Gets some really good damage. All these players on the side of MANDEM really kept. Now they're surging all the way over point, but it's actually 3 players to the bad. That's 4. All the way down is only Auto, the sole remaining survivor of the Enderpearl side.
He's hiding 1v1 against Zoe in the low area.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Oh my god. It was looking so good, though. It was looking so good. How did they not get even 1 frag there?
Rewinded time. It's rewind time, honestly. Rewind it back 10, 20 times. It's always this last push, this advantageous last push, but never able to nail it out. And it was an empty vessel after all. Demul, though, is pronging himself much more forth indeed and only really securing ground. The main problem there was once more, no one really came to the point close enough and fast enough. I think they would have even kept it out, but then it was a very easy rotation, honestly, from MANDEM through the spawn area. Boulder now wants to charge and bulldoze with Fancy through this cafe area.
Okay, yeah, it was it's a big commit. Both the soldiers, oh my god, June went down to literally 4 HP there. That's a 3-man sack. Uber does eventually get forced. The only issue is the fact that they did kind of sacrifice 3 people to do that, and now second is going to go obviously easily in the hands of MANDEM. That actually,
it's blocked. It's blocked. Andy is still on the second. Andy gunning down Zoe, causing so much headaches here. Fancy being mid-air shot by Smile. It was all on Andy. Those were the crucial 5 seconds that he blocked that point.
That actually is so crucial. That manages to get them not only just a little bit of control towards last, but now they can have their own Uber advantage. It's only about 40-ish%. It's going to make things difficult. If they can force some of these players back, that would be great. Trading out players, not really what you want on the side of the Enderpearls. It's going to make things even scrappier, even more difficult.
Ryan
in
behind, but not really committing to it, just circling themselves out.
Uber. It's a solo Uber. How is no one with Auto there? Like,
It's truly a solo Uber. Only Auto was Ubered.
Yeah, like there's some really crucial moments here for Enderpearls where they're just not with it, and it's kind of just resulting in just throwing away opportunities.
Let's be alert, though, that June still has 100% in the bank and putting the mandate upon her to overwhelm this last point here surreptitiously. So, Boulder's already charging very much forward. They haven't claimed a single frag, though, for themselves. Now, Luca Enderman falling down, eating dirt, essentially, by Demul and Boulder. A combination that is, and nothing of note was found, though. Now the counter bombs are unleashed. Ryan still battling with Demul. Now they're clapping them into the lower right. Lower right! No! Auto shot up! Finally! You see, the better conversion here from MANDEM is that they then just focus fire with high bombing soldiers on the right side. This same was not reciprocated when Enderpearls sort of pushed the last point of MANDEM.
It feels like it's so crucial having those last pushes and just knowing, like, it feels dumb, but having like a 40% advantage is very different to having about a 60% advantage, because you could see how slow MANDEM could play at the end of that fight. Once they got that first frag onto Luca, that was like, great, we don't have stickies, we don't have a Doman to deal with, that's fantastic. But they also knew they didn't have the Uber that they'd have to deal with, so they could just play nice and slow, take things really, really patiently. And
one rocket on June. They're probing whether or not anything opens up here, but huge damage from Demul on the just roof above the cafe. Also, some more players are falling. Otto has to leave Nikki and Andy down, and that was very interesting. Otto still being down to 40 HP, and I think the chase wants to be unleashed here. Double soldier bomb, and automatic medic death situation.
This is gonna be brutal now. Even with these late frags, this is gonna be near impossible. 2 players on the side of the Ender Pearls, and yeah, there we go. Not gonna let that gun stay up, not gonna let it build up any higher, which is actually really, really crucial. It's actually gonna be playing all the way towards last. Nikki trying to go for like a hero little play. Uber does get used. This is just gonna be a round. Not a thing the Ender Pearls can do about that. So quick, so brutal. Oh, it feels like it's slipping away.
And that's just cyberbullying. They don't even let Andy have his little turret, his little sentry gun. That's so mean. But honestly, on that mid-fight, there was a really long-range rocket that was very well placed on June. She went weak, but the problem is they didn't have any control over sort of the church clock tower, the bell tower basically. So Demul could just take high ground, bomb in, shoot a 300 rocket shot there on Tetris and onto the roof above Cafe, and then they just encircled them since they had to commit so much to their own Cafe area, and afterward just, you know, being flushed out. So maybe slipping away from them. 4th mid-fight.
There we go. Demul this time going to be playing the game on the back lines. Is going to be getting a lot of damage, not quite securing that frag, but Ryan with the follow-up, they will be cleaning up. There's one soldier here. Actually, every soldier in the game is just kind of a little bit back and forth, but things are looking pretty good on the side of Enderpose right now, trying to get this frag towards Boulder, who doesn't want to give them any opportunity. 4 versus 3 heals on the side of the Enderpose. They need to be backing up. They need to be playing together. That frag's going to be oh so important. Moving all the way towards this valley position. Demul goes for the deep bomb, but these pipes from Luca perfectly combining with Andy right now. There we go. One after another. That is hard fought, but well won.
Cleave tactics essentially brought from Team Fortress 2. Also some funny talk still in the chat. Also, I think we have a second point that is basically an empty husk, since you have 100% Uber percentage here, June only on 50 and Boulder on the sniping duties.
But it's about 6% now because we have a defensive crit streak. You love to see it. You love to see it. But Uber's going to get used towards his top right-hand side. Does get a little bit of a deny on the jump of Luca, which is going to make things just a little bit difficult. If they can search forward. There we go. Crit is in the hands of the Heavy. That's one frag. Not quite secure. There we go. There we go. This is exactly what they want. Oh my god, these rockets. Luca's got caught in. Surely isn't going to live here.
He does. Eventually, finally though, but they are mauling him as he recommits basically. I mean, he was trapped out. Fancy also jumped in behind, but another failed last push from the Enderpills. Yeah,
this is going to be hard, and you can see all-important moment there. After the defensive crits happen, June did change off back onto regular Medigun, so it is going to be Uber in their hands. There's not going to be any weird situations where Enderpose just keeps on playing the Uber advantage forever and ever. They will have a little bit of an Uber advantage. If they're ready to go on the dot, this is technically an opportunity for Enderpose, but they need to be fast.
They're very fast.
How they're going. Yeah, they're going all the way through, not using till very, very late, securing this first frag. That's incredibly well done.
Have time now.
They're just about starting to get some time towards point. Gun has gone down, but Uber now in the hands of June, and it is going to get used, and they're going to be surging forward on 1, 2, 3 of these players on the side of Enderpose, and you can see Boulder, it doesn't want to stop for anyone right now. That's every single player on the side of Enderpose being spotted as well, so this is just full push mode for MANDEM.
If Enderpills is anything, then it is fast, but the problem is if MANDEM is anything, then it is recalcitrant enough to fight the combatants off and build your own Uber up. The particulars of that play were very similar of what we saw before. I give Enderpills credit here, recognizing that they had this little bit of an Uber advantage, even if June switches back to the Medigun, but then again, not finding any crucial damage here. But now Nikki, though, plugs this open, but Prying, they're all falling down like dominoes. Luca Enderman, nice pipe into Zoe. Boulder also down, but not what you want.
No, it's going to be hard right now. It is well played for the Enderpose to manage to at least secure a couple frags there, make things not quite as disastrous as it could have been. They are going to be getting some very, very close spawns here by, through nature of having the mid-cap. So it is going to be a situation where MANDEM can't really look to commit too hard, and you can see they've all been forced out of choke. There could have been a moment for Enderpose to try and secure a frag, but kind of not catching anyone. The spawners are going to be in for the side of MANDEM. You can see Enderpose, they feel like they have to do something, but it's like, how do you get in?
And Ratusha now 1v3 in his disfavor, ultimately able to Scarper out, but Smile was liberated of his life in that choke and just ending his life subscription once more, though. It is a Boulder and a Fancy. They're taking high ground here, and he's so weak on HP. They have to pop so early. June doesn't pop at all.
Oh, there we go. We've seen it probably, I think it's like the third time this game we've seen that exact situation where MANDEM's playing so patient with these Ubers. They're not getting flustered. They want to maintain this Uber advantage. And even still, what a great little surf there for June, managing to just avoid any of this damage.
Smile comes in once more, though. Can he dodge? June cannot.
No, absolutely not. And is going to get cleaned up. There we go. Okay, this is a crucial moment on the side of the Enderpose. They have Uber disadvantage, yeah, that kind of sucks, but also right now their biggest enemy is time, you know? It's 8.5 minutes left to go. They have no choice but to back up all the way towards their own last. They can build, they can get this Uber very quickly, they can try and get things to be able to play a late fight versus MANDEM, but ultimately, Enderpose, they need to start getting something strung together.
Since the game went on for very long, it was quite hectic, but as the timer ticks down, it gets way less so eclectic, as you don't have that much time to encroach onto the last point. Now, though, also Auto has full 100% up. They didn't feel comfortable pushing forward. Ryan is caught by Nikki and finished off therefore soon now. Andy charges out with the Pyro, and maybe they even want to try something here. Andy taking lobby control, but nothing really happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's brave. It's brave at this point. I love the idea of, you know, like there's not players. Ooh, yeah. Oh my god. They don't give him a second. I like the idea of trying to get aggressive towards lobby, but you can't really get forward onto second from lobby in that situation. So it's kind of like once you haven't caught someone, you just have to back up. There's just kind of no point.
The problem is also, if they don't push it out until the round timer resets, it feels like it's a lost cause. Yeah, honestly, but it's already a nuke here from MANDEM through the left side, seen from their own perspective. A Border still running circles on those players, surfacing up on the barrels, but it's still scuffling in the lobby. Smile once more, you know, spawns, but straight down back to the spawn wave.
Yeah, there we go. I feel like everyone right now in the server, they all want their little opportunities to try and peek into lobby. Andy was like, hey, can I peek? No, you can't. No. Left side, MANDEM, they want to take this position. It's actually really well taken, that position. Playing all the way towards point, trying to drag these players all the way in. Uber does get used on side of Auto. Great little bomb there for Demol, who actually manages to survive. This entire Uber has been used, and only now are they getting the force onto MANDEM. And this is going to make things so difficult. They're going to be securing these crucial frags onto Luca towards his right-hand side. No stickies on point. There's nothing they can do. They left wide open. And I mean, once MANDEM was in, that was kind of curtains.
You see, it isn't called left to be left completely unguarded. The main problem really is they played that as if they had no chance, and therefore they had no chance. I also like the scuffle between Andy and Zoe. Pyro has more health than a Scout, and Andy was using a shotgun, but you see why Scout is still superior than Pyro in that sort of scenario. So they lost one player there, they lost one player on the other side, so it was very difficult to even lock down this left side that MANDEM after that took. So 5-0 could be on the horizon once more. It starts with the Moore and Ryan working so perfectly together, bombing upon that roof above Cafe.
Oh my god. Dude, Enderpose just, they didn't get anywhere on that mid-fight. Nowhere at all. Even Andy getting a little frag towards the end here, it's not going to be enough. Yeah, the taunts come out. Because it's been that kind of game. Oh my, dude, you can't double taunt. Is that legal?
Triple!
Is that triple taunt? That's
triple
just,
taunt!
Ban him! Ban him! At Sodium, whoever the admins are right now. Disgusting.
Typing ferociously in chat right now, and they're already taking some forward positions here. Fancy also has decent synced stickies on the forefront, but again, the particulars of that play is just MANDEM flexing, and maybe they want to bring us here. I don't even want to say to an early night, since we were taking quite some time before the game went live, but we are staring down the barrel of another 6% Uber advantage. Nikki on the sniper.
Yeah, they are going to at least be forcing this Uber towards Yeah, this left-hand side from the defensive POV, and there we go. Uber has got used, going to be surging all the way forward, trying to get on this left-hand side, but actually the rest of MANDEM's not quite in a position to go forward. Yes, so Ryan is going to kind of lose his life. Demore does get the follow-up straight onto Auto, who's somehow less than 150 walking out of a spawn door. Couldn't tell you what happened there, but it doesn't matter. Enderpearls, they have no choice but to just keep on going right now. There's no time for, you know, kind of just chilling out and doing whatever. They have to go forward, straight into the meat grinder.
The meat grinder that is basically Balder 1v1ing everything, and they're enlisting on another frag clip material. Hate train here, Zoe is countercharging, Andy is down, Fancy winning that with the pipe, and they're all being encircled, only Otto left now alive. How eponymous it ends here as MANDEM shoot so heavily on the Enderpearls. GG's are called. We just passed the 420 marker for everyone, still in it for the memes, but equally on the end, it was a bit more so apparent what the top dog here is, but that was quite a hefty game on both of those maps, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, I think it felt like the beginning of that map. I had some good faith in the Enderpearls. I felt like there was, there was little opportunities, things were going well, and then just as time went by, they just started losing control more and more. And it's that really difficult position where when you can't find success early on, it's like, it's fine, it's early on, it doesn't matter too much. And then when you get to the kind of the middle part of the game, kind of 10 minutes in, you're a couple rounds down and you're having to be the one initiating fights. And then when that doesn't find success, then you get to the last 10 minutes and you just have no choice but to just push, right? Like you run out of options, the time becomes your greatest enemy. And as soon as that happened, MANDEM, they were just so confident in how they were playing. They're just, it felt like, in the last 10 minutes, the Enderpearls just didn't stand a chance.
And that can also be diagrammed or visually represented into logs. If you sort them by kills overall, then the primacy of the points this time around is taken by Ryan. And now Zoe is the second one. Take that, Zoe. Before that, it was Ryan on the second spot on process. But 24 frags, 23 frags, and then Boulder coming soon thereafter with 20 frags, 101 kills on the blue faction here on MANDEM are opposed by 67. I'm not going to say it. 67 frags on the face of the Enderpearls. Let's look at and peer toward medic stats. June dying only 3 times, Otto dying 6 times, and 0 drops out of both medics. That is just, a little bit of meta talk I'm giving to you. Do you see anything specific?
I'll be honest, I feel like on, other than kind of mostly what you've covered, I feel like the story this game was more that moment-to-moment stuff where, like, MANDEM could basically find ways of getting momentum. They were very confident in how they were playing. They were able to really kind of pick apart defenses on the side of the Enderpearls, whereas I felt like Enderpearls, they had to work so hard to get any kind of success, and then the second they did, they would just overextend that a little bit more. It almost felt, and like, this is probably going to come across as quite mean, but it felt like in almost all extended fights, it felt like MANDEM winning in the end was a foregone conclusion. Like, it was already guaranteed. The only thing you had to do was wait to see when it was going to happen. It's like, yeah, maybe it doesn't happen in the first fight. Maybe it's the refight or the refight of the refight. But ultimately, it felt like the end result was always going to be MANDEM. And I think, yeah, it's kind of crushing because we saw glimpses of success, but just no kind of actual stringing together of these kind of, positive moves on the side of the Enderpearls. They just kind of got picked apart.
Did you feel like the failed last pushes were the only logical continuation of that trend? I mean, for me, honestly, I grew accustomed to them not being able to really get onto any advantageous positions beyond fighting on second, because on mid, when you do recall, the very first mid-fight, double soldier bomb into the green area of the enemy team, decent impetus, but instantly very well kited, and from then on, MANDEM looked very strong on the mids, and Enderpearls, I'm going to raise my hand and say probably one of their downfalls was that they weren't cultivating their last pushes to a rather great extent, because could have maybe even, pushed last 2 to 3 times with uber advantage, and even then got the conversion rate. Could have been closer, but for me, it honestly felt maybe the second point was a bit hard fought, but on mid and on last push, it wasn't that much of a contest in the end.
No, and I think you're very right, and I think it's almost how those fights are lost as well, right? Like when MANDEM lost a fight, most of the time it would be that they would lose a fight and they would back up with their combo, right? Like they would recognize that very early and they'd be like, okay, we're going to back up, we're going to chill, we're going to do whatever. Whereas a lot of these really crucial lost fights for the Enderpros, they were just in pieces. Like, you know, you would end up losing 3-4 players and then Auto would be disconnected from the one remaining player. And you're just like, dude, how does that happen? It would be not just the fact they'd lose a fight, they'd completely crumble. Whereas MANDEM losing a fight ultimately would mean they would lose like 8 point maybe, or, you know, maybe 2 points, but that would be like, you know, mid and second or whatever, they'd still be on last. It felt like their losses weren't as crushing.
Anyway, you heard a lot of talking from us. I think there was also a great deal of, well, analytical points that are interesting to see in this very game, but definitely big shout out to both of those teams still putting on a great show. We saw a lot of 5-0s though this far in the season already. I mean, we're only in week 2. Also, thanks for everyone who joined us here on printstream.gg. There was also another game going on. YouTube crowd, you don't care about that. You got that all delivered on YouTube for free for you, but there was also another game going on essentials.tf. I don't want to, cut anyone off here. Ipeli, do you have any 1 or 2 last sentences here before we wrap it up?
Nope. I'm going to say GG's and keep watching the rest of the season. This seems like it's going to be, even if the scorelines don't suggest it, we're having some good games.
I can only second that. And if you ever ask yourself what is the most essential part on essentials.tf, yes, it's also our producers. So big shout out to JMax and the rest of the producers, but also to our viewers and to the crowd. You are the ones that we are doing this for. But Ipeli said it, we'll catch you soon for more Premiership action.